Hey guys, just wanted to make a quick video to show you a few things I really don't like about the new Stark Varg. I want to start out by saying this is actually probably the best bike I've ever ridden. So these are just a couple things that are probably teething issues that hopefully they'll get worked out on the next models. All right, first thing I want to talk about is the whole chain, sprocket, and rear tire situation. This comes with the adjuster set to 0, and the front tire was literally touching the mudguard and almost on the swing arm. It was about 3 millimeters of clearance. Talked to Stark about this. Their solution was to use a 47 tooth rear sprocket. But as you can see, with 47 tooth rear sprocket, still adjusted back farther. So I don't know what the point of these forward adjustments are. It's kind of set right in the middle. Also, there's really not many choices for a 47 tooth rear sprocket. I ended up having to run this Tusk sprocket, which is kind of cheap. I'm not really a big fan of it. Next, I want to talk about this chain guide. This is super narrow. I'm actually running a standard MX chain here. There's just barely clearance for that. The stock chain is like a W ring or X ring type chain, but it's really, really thin. I tried fitting a Regina O-ring chain on here and it literally wouldn't fit through this chain guide. So that's something to think about. Also, from the factory, they do not put a master link on these bikes. They're riveted chains, so kind of a pain if you want to do any service on these things. Of course, I immediately cut that off and swapped on a normal master link to make it easier to service. I'll talk about this handlebar situation. Anyone that wants to run aftermarket bars, it's kind of a problem to index them. This is the factory bars. It's actually pretty easy. They've got these readouts way on the side, but any Pro Taper bars or Renthals, they have these index marks more towards the inside, and you cannot see them. It's almost impossible to get the bars centered. You almost have to measure these two and make your own marks if you want to run aftermarket bars. Next, actually, for running aftermarket bars, also a bit of a problem. We'll talk about this throttle situation. First of all, you can't run lock-on grips because this is kind of an integrated throttle. It doesn't really come apart. There's no cables in there to run like the ODI setup, which I like. But the biggest issue here is this tube is so long, you have so much space in here that it takes up a ton of handlebar space. So much that it actually sticks out here, and you can see this brake lever is adjusted way in and just barely clears this. If I have this lever, normally I have the lever set right around here, you know, for my hand, but this one doesn't allow that because it actually, this adjuster here will hit the throttle housing. So I tried running some aftermarket bars, Pro Taper Wyndham bend, and would not fit at all because it forced me to have to mount the brake lever actually on the bend of the bar here, which obviously is not ideal. Handguard mounts not in the way, not affecting anything, because this is as close as I can get to that throttle housing without this adjuster touching it anyways. So something to think about. You got to run a really, really big control space bar, like maybe a Husqvarna stock bend or something like that, SX race bend, if you want to change your bars on these. This one was a bit of a bummer. These stock tubes are made of like a beach ball material, and I was actually really excited about that because they're basically weightless. I literally got an hour of riding time and I've got 5 pinholes all along the rim side. I did speak to Stark about this and they said they're actually working on the durability, so hopefully they'll get these figured out. I was pretty excited to run these in my KTMs and everything because saving weight on a tire is huge. Next is this side stand situation. This side stand is about 1 inch to 1.5 inches too short. Barely stands on pavement and will not stand at all on any dirt I've tried to put it on yet, even hard clay. Just the bike falls over. So it's also not, it does not lock into place like a KTM stand, for example. It just kind of loosely swings, which is not that big a deal. My big issue with the stand is it doesn't work. So it's pretty pointless to order it with a side stand for now. Hopefully they will change this and make this a little bit longer, or we'll see some aftermarket options come out soon. This one, not a huge deal, easy fix. The steering stops were adjusted way out from the factory, could barely turn the bars. This is just an easy adjustment. Just crank these things all the way down. Doesn't hit anything still. We still have plenty of room. No issue, just cranking those down. They're kind of pointless on there anyway. Next is wheels. It was pretty widespread rumor that KTM wheels will bolt right up on these, and front does. I'm actually running my KTM 2023 front wheel on here right now because I got that flat tube and had to order a tube. I didn't have one on hand, so I threw that on. Spacers, everything bolts right up. Rotors bolt right up. On the rear side, the rotors bolt right up. The sprocket bolts right up. Even the bolts are same size. The spacers are completely different. So if you want to run a KTM rear wheel on here, you need to have custom spacers made. You cannot swap the Stark spacers over to the KTM wheels. I tried a 2023 KTM wheel and a 2019. Neither of them worked. Other issue is mainly with the manual, which does not really explain how to turn the bike off. If you just press the power to turn it off, you'll actually just get kind of like a red light that just basically flashes for eternity. To turn it off properly, you need to press and hold both of these. You'll see a white light flash and then you're good. It's off. Save your battery. Another small thing to note with the Stark phone, if you do leave it on, it's going to die in about 2 to 3 days just from being on standby mode. So you probably want to turn off the phone when you shut the bike off. When you do turn it back on, it will not automatically connect to Bluetooth. At least mine doesn't. So I've got to go in, turn the phone on, basically connect the Bluetooth to the bike, and put it back in, and we're all good. Everything's fine. This is kind of like an owner's manual thing. It says to change the gear oil at 5 hours, but it does not say how to do that. So far, I've only been able to find this plug here behind the rear shock. I don't see any drains or anything, so if anybody knows basically how to do this, I didn't know if this might be fill hole and drain hole here. I'm not really sure. The owner's manual does not say. I wrote to Stark. They said they will basically walk me through it when it's time, but definitely should be in the owner's manual. All right, this is kind of a big one. A lot of guys are going to get your Stark, be all excited to ride it, and have no way to charge it. This is the plug that comes with the charger. There's not a 110 volt plug supplied at all. Luckily, my electrician rides too, and he shot over here in about 10 minutes and installed the right wall socket for me. We don't have the right plate, but we'll fix that later. But if you don't have this type of 220 outlet, you're not going to be able to charge your bike. So definitely get an electrician out, get that set up. Or they do sell 110 conversion plugs that plug into this, but you're definitely get a lot slower charging time with that. Definitely when you go to assemble this charging stand, you need to have this on the right because this charging cord will not reach the bike if it's on the left. Don't ask me how I know that. Might be one of those guys that just throws things together without looking at owner's manuals. Last issue I have is the pricing. This bike actually ordered it was $13,000 even on the website. When I got my final bill, it was $13,009 and some change, with no explanation of what that extra money was. There was a $99 shipping charge, which definitely is reasonable, but I did get a certificate of origin with the bike, but when I wrote back to them and asked what that extra $884 was, they said it was sales tax. However, I don't have a title for the bike, just a manufacturer certificate of origin. So I don't know how they've paid the sales tax on this bike. Overall, I don't want this to sound like anything negative. This bike is literally the best bike I've ever ridden. I've got over 10 bikes right now, all the latest KTMs, everything, Yamahas. This thing is just different than anything I've ever ridden. I've had friends come over and ride it, and they're just absolutely blown away with it. The power is unbelievable. The control is unbelievable. It took me about 2 laps around the track to get used to not having a clutch or shifting. It's very intuitive. The throttle's super smooth. You get almost no arm pump with this bike. Suspension is amazing. I wouldn't say it feels plush, but it feels incredibly controlled. You can see it's got the technical touch works adjuster on here. It's not just your normal Yamaha setup. This thing really handles well. Also, I did overshoot a few jumps with it first time out. Wasn't a problem. Actually took the landing awesome. So overall, super impressed with the bike. I love it. I understand this is a first model coming out. Hopefully they'll get a couple of these issues taken care of, and you know, the next year's bikes or down the line, these things are just going to be literally impossible to beat. If you guys like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel and hopefully get some more stuff here for you guys in the future. Maybe a couple riding videos. We're going to take this thing out in the trails. We're going to do some moto and kind of put it through its paces, see what it does. All right, that's it. Take care, guys.